Am I the asshole for calling my husband a disgrace after he said my miscarriage ruined his birthday? I miscarried yesterday afternoon about 12 p.m. I've never had a miscarriage before, and this baby was so wished for. So it's all so fresh, and I'm sobbing right now. So I apologize in advance if it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. My husband turned 27 yesterday. I 26F was pregnant with mine and my husband's 27 second child. Yesterday I was 8 weeks pregnant. The day before yesterday, we saw a beautiful heartbeat flicking on the screen, and today I'm devastated. I was playing with our 2-year-old when I felt a pressure in my lower abdomen. Not long later, I noticed bleeding, and I let my husband know immediately that I had discomfort and bleeding. Before long, I had passed what I believe is the fetus, and I messaged him, I think I lost the baby. I wanted to keep him updated, and I guess I was seeking some kind of emotional support. I asked if he could come home, and he said, of course, if it's urgent. I said I think it is because the pain and bleeding is getting worse, and I'm starting to feel lightheaded, and our 2-year-old is unattended in his playroom right now. We have no friends or family near that I could call who would get to us quicker than he could. I had to clean myself up, crawl downstairs to take paracetamol, make my son his lunch, and then put him down for a nap. At this point, my husband still isn't home. He was working approx 30 mins away and took closer to 60 mins to get back. Hours later when I asked, it was because he'd stopped at Tesco to pick up some beers. I ended up very poorly, losing lots of blood, lightheaded, vomiting, etc., and he had to take me to A&E. By the time I was discharged, it was almost 8 p.m. Last week, I had said I'd make him his favorite dinner for his birthday, which he reminded me when we were almost home. I said I wasn't feeling up to it and that whatever takeaway he wants is on me. He said for fuck's sake under his breath and then muttered something along the lines of, this bullshit has ruined my birthday. He didn't stop to get any takeaway. He just drove straight home. He put our son to bed and I went to bed and I'm not sure what he did after. I didn't see him this morning as he had already left for work. He's not messaged me all day and he got home a few hours ago. It's now 8:40 p.m. and he's been giving me silent treatment. I tried to speak to him about an hour or so ago, and he ignored me, and I called him a disgrace. He slammed the bedroom door and locked me out of the bedroom. His mum has since messaged me and said I need to be patient, as he's also had a loss. She didn't ask how I was or anything. He's obviously speaking to his mum, but why isn't he opening up and speaking to me? She said I was harsh. I'm feeling utterly emotionally neglected right now. My body has been through emotional and physical hell. I understand that my miscarriage came at a fucking inconvenient time for him, as it was his birthday and all. I'm not sure if it's the hormones making me feel crazy, but is it nuts to contemplate divorce? AITAH for calling him a disgrace. Am I the asshole for not paying for my friend's dinner when she called me a pedophile? Last time I posted on Reddit, I received some wonderful advice, and I even suggested my friend do the same. She's using my throwaway account now. I 29F moved into my current apartment 2 years ago. We have an elderly neighbor in her late 70s who mostly keeps to herself. She gets her groceries and medicines delivered every week, but the newspaper delivery boy only drops the paper on the ground floor. Before I moved in, she used to pay some neighborhood kids to bring it up to her, but they moved away shortly after I arrived. So I started bringing her the paper every day. I usually ring the bell and leave it at her door, but when the door is already open, we sometimes have a little chat. She often insists I come in for coffee and always thanks me warmly. I noticed her apartment is filled with pictures of her grandson, probably more than 20. To be honest, I thought he was the cutest baby I'd ever seen. The photos ranged from his baby days to what looked like his 21st birthday. I assumed he was around that age, but never asked, and she never mentioned it. About a year after I moved in, I saw an incredibly attractive guy in our building. I was about 70% sure it was the same kid from the pictures, though he looked older than I expected. When he introduced himself, I found out I was right. We started talking whenever he visited his grandmother, and soon we began dating. We've been together for 8 months now. He's met my parents, and everything has been going well. Last week, I wanted him to meet my college friends and my twin sister, who's currently in town. We all went out to dinner. Although it wasn't explicitly discussed, it was kind of assumed that I would cover the bill. Usually, when someone introduces their boyfriend to the group, the couple pays. The dinner went really well. My friends, a group of 4, and my sister all seemed genuinely happy for us. I was sharing the story of how I met him and his grandmother. At some point, my boyfriend stepped away to take a call. That's when my friend Sarah suddenly called me a pedophile. I was honestly shocked. When I asked her if she was serious, she just said, "I know a pedophile when I see one." I was so disturbed by her words that I excused myself. I paid the bill except for Sarah and left with my boyfriend. Later, she messaged me saying that besides being a pedophile, I'm also petty and cheap. It really hurt. I absolutely despise abusers, especially child abusers, so being called something like that has taken a serious emotional toll on me. I'm disgusted by her and the whole situation. What's been bugging me even more is that Sarah was abused by a family member as a child. So now I keep questioning myself. Did I do something wrong? My sister and two of my friends are standing by me. Another friend said she doesn't think I'm a pedophile, but she finds it a bit creepy that I saw him as a baby before we met. My boyfriend 30M actually found it funny at first, but after seeing how upset I've been, he's been reassuring me and telling me it's not weird at all. I don't know what to do. I know I'm not a pedophile, but it's been really upsetting to be seen as one by someone I once trusted. English is not my first language, so pardon me for any mistakes. Am I the asshole for refusing to go on a date with my wife's best friend? My wife Liz and I are both 32 and we have been married for 3 years. She is a teacher and has recently been telling me about Maria, who is one of her friends who works at the same school as her. Liz has been saying that Maria has been down lately since her boyfriend broke up with her, and Liz suggested that I go on a date with Maria just for fun. Maria does not know that Liz and I are married. Liz says that it would just be one date at Maria's house and then never see her again. I declined this as I love Liz, and to go on a date with someone else would be the same as cheating. She argued that it's not cheating if she gives me consent to do it. I stood my ground and continued to say no. It makes me uncomfortable to even think of going on a date with someone who isn't Liz. Even if I did want to do it, it would be unfair to just ghost Maria after a first date, as Liz suggested. It would probably make Maria even sadder than she already is. Liz claims that I'm being mean and that I should just let Maria have this chance. I said that Maria can have this chance with another man. I said that I'm disgusted in her for trying to force me to go on a date. I'm also worried that if I did agree, she would twist the story and claim that I cheated on her with her best friend. Liz has let it go for now, but is still annoyed at me. Did I do the right thing? ETA, a lot of people have been commenting, asking why Maria doesn't know her best friend's husband. Maria has only been friends with Liz for about 6 months. And they met at the school, definitely not long enough to have came to our wedding, and I don't know how close they are. I also wonder if Liz is purposely leaving out the fact that she was married. Am I the asshole for not liking it when my 14F dad 58M touches my butt? My dad was a weird obsession with touching my butt. He likes to grab and slap my butt often. It started when my mom had a nervous breakdown at the very beginning of COVID. But he's been making sexual comments about me since I started puberty, around 7 years old. One time, he pinned me against the kitchen counter and slapped my butt hard. He only stopped because I started crying. This happened in January. I've blocked out most of what happened because I feel disgusting every time I think about it. I have set the boundary of not touching my butt, and for the most part, he is listening. He still tries to touch me sometimes, but I can deter him very easily, which I used to not be able to do. He is also making fun of me for setting boundaries. He is making me feel insane. He keeps saying it's not that big of a deal and that he can do whatever he wants to me because he made me. I'm so confused. Is this a form of SA or abuse? Am I overreacting? Should I let him touch my butt? Update. Thank you all so much for the support and validation. I really thought this was normal, but now I know it isn't. I will be going to my school counselor on Monday, and I will talk to my friend about it, potentially staying with her if necessary. Thank you again. Am I the asshole for praising my daughter's stepmother, despite knowing how terrible she treats my ex's other children? Throwaway account. I 37F have a daughter Lori 8F with my ex-husband John 45 min. This is our only child together, but John has 2 other kids from his first marriage, Jane 17F and Alex 15 mens. Jane and Alex's mom passed away when they were 5 and 3, and I met John when they were 7 and 5. In the beginning, everything started out well. I made it clear to Jane and Alex that I had no intention of replacing their mom and made the effort to make sure her memory was kept alive in the house. The kids seemed very receptive to me, so I happily accepted John's proposal. It wasn't until I had Lori that things started to turn for the worse. When Laurie was a baby, I really wanted her first word to be Mama. So John and I got into the habit of referring to me as Mama, and Jane and Alex started doing it too. I never asked them to do that, and they only did it when Laurie was in earshot. Unfortunately, they did that once in front of their maternal grandparents when I was dropping the kids off at their place, and they went ballistic. They got it into Jane and Alex's head that I was tricking them into slowly turning them away from their mom, and it all went downhill from there. Jane and Alex turned on me and became very defiant and disrespectful. John and I tried to have talks and do therapy sessions, but it went nowhere thanks to the influence of their maternal side of the family. Eventually, John decided to temporarily cut contact, but the grandparents sued and won grandparents' rights, and it really came to bite John and I. Alex and Jane became worse and went so far as to tamper with my shampoo to make my hair fall out, call me inappropriate names in public, destroy my things, and became very rude to me parents. It was rough, and I honestly tried my best, but when Jane spread a lie at school that prompted her teachers to contact the authorities, I was done. As soon as my name was cleared, I filed for divorce. John was heartbroken and begged me to stay, but I just couldn't live with the absence of peace. Jane, Alex, and their maternal grandparents celebrated my departure, and while I was hurt, I was also relieved of not having to deal with the drama anymore. Shortly after the divorce, John met Kate 49F, and while I was cautious at first, she showed me that she was a responsible and caring figure towards Laurie. So her and I have a respectful relationship. I guess John wasn't willing to take the same arrow twice, so when Alex and Jane started acting up, he sent them to a boarding school where Kate had an in with the administration. He just dropped them off there, under the guise of it being a week-long camp for the spring, and never picked them up. Their grandparents were furious, but legally they couldn't do anything. This past weekend was Laurie's birthday, and because I was so busy with work I am up for a promotion, Kate agreed to plan and host, and I was extremely grateful. She never made me feel like I was less of a mom and still made me look like a hero in Laurie's eyes. When Laurie asked for a picture with just the three of us, I happily agreed and then posted it on social media with a message saying how happy I was that my daughter had another adult who loved her. My former step-in-laws, Jane and Alex's grandparents, saw it and berated me for praising Kate in any way when she was clearly terrible to Jane and Alex. I told them that I'm sure that Kate had her reasons, and if they wanted me to care about Jane and Alex just as much as I do for Laurie, then they shouldn't have pushed me away. I've spoken to a few of my friends about this, and some of them think that I'm in the wrong, so I have to ask. AITAH. Am I the asshole for sticking to my guns after my Emil of 30 wars told me I wasn't in the family? My husband 55M and myself 54F have been married for 32 years, and together since I was 19 years old. My husband Tom is an amazing man, but an extreme introvert. So I have been the social planner, greeting card sender and gift purchaser for both of our sides of the family. I couldn't even count the thousands of hours of calls, handmade gifts, and holiday meals I have contributed over the years. I have never had any major problems with my in-laws, but they have never been supportive, even when I was taking care of my terminally ill mother and 2 small children, and then working my way through nursing school. No offers of babysitting or meals, even though they only live 30 min from us. We even took money from our HELOC to keep them from losing their house DT, their financial mismanagement. I share this background to show why I was so surprised to find out that my Emil did not consider me in the family. In spite of 30 hours of participation and contribution, Tom's uncle, Ned, died of COVID in 2022. His wife, Claire, my Mill sister, was devastated and decided that she couldn't deal with a lot of people at his internment. She only wanted Tom, his sister, her own daughter and husband, and my Emil and Phil to attend, not DT COVID rules, just her preference. No problem. My problem came when my MIL explained that it was nothing personal that I'm not invited, it's just because she only wants family there. And since I'm not family, of course I can't come. I chalked it up to poor wording, but for the next 4 or 5 phone conversations, she kept saying nothing personal. It's just for family multiple times each conversation. She kept talking about the lovely luncheon they were going to have after the event I am excluded from, which would be so nice for the family to catch up, etc. Tom did tell Emil to not refer to gatherings where I am not invited as for family only, but Mill talked over him like she always does, and never registered how insulting it was. How am I not family after 30 years, 2 kids and decades of effort? She wasn't mad or being vindictive, she was just calmly stating facts. She was acting like Tom is 20 years old, and I am the flavor of the month, not his partner of 3 decades, who literally saved his life and nursed him through a stroke again without help and all the aftermath. I was crushed. Inclusion is really important to me, and whenever I host a holiday, I make sure that friends and co-workers have a place to spend holidays and invite them to spend it at my house if they don't have other plans. Shutting someone out is literally one of the worst things you can do to a human. My solution? If my Emil is going to treat me as my husband's +1, I'm going to start acting like it. I told Tom that all of the cards, gifts, and communication with his family are here forward his job, and I will manage the same with my side of the family. I made him a list of all the birthdays, anniversaries, etc. that he needs to pay attention to, and told him that if he wants to have us host something for his family, I will happily cook a lovely meal, but he is responsible for the invites, negotiating the menu, etc. I then sent a letter to my in-laws, letting them know that Tom and I redivided household duties, and he will now be managing all of the above, and that they can contact him and not me regarding social stuff. Tom was not thrilled that he now was responsible for a genre that is difficult for him, but I told him that we could trade duties every 30 years, and my 31 years are up. Lol. We are now 3 wars later, and when Tom says something about a holiday for his family, I remind him that is his arena, and whatever he wants to plan is fine with me. Lately, he has been rolling his eyes and saying, "We're still on this. You are really holding a grudge. Or you really don't want to let this go." I don't think I am holding a grudge, but this is the most hurtful thing ever put on me, and I can't forget how they view me. I don't hate them or discourage his or my adult kids' involvement with them, but if I'm not in the family, then I am not going to invest my energy on people who do want me around. Is Tom right? Is 3 years long enough, and I should let it go, especially since they are oblivious and not going to change their view anyway? AITAH? Edit, I would like to point out that my husband does have brain damage from his stroke, so writing things down and reminding him are part of our normal life and needed for him to get through his day. He has a hard time with memory and verbal comprehension, so sometimes it takes him until after a conversation and talking with me to understand what was said. This isn't just when dealing with his mum, but for TV and movie plots and other situations. He is able to drive, work part-time, exercise, play tennis, but he does need help with problem-solving and memory. Edit number 2. To clarify, my husband's part-time job is executive accounting. He is not incapable of planning a birthday dinner or buying a card. The damage was to his auditory center, so if things are written or visual, he is fine. Just as long as he is not getting info via auditory means and writes things down, he understands. Am I the asshole for ruining my cousins' lives after they bullied me my whole life? TW, this post contains mentions of essay. I come from a small family, me, my parents, my paternal grandmother, my maternal aunt, her husband, and my 2 cousins. This situation just pertains to my cousins, as a lot of drama has been centered around them given the events I've caused. My cousins have spent the past 2.5 decades making my life hell, and I finally thought I got revenge. But I think I went too far. For cultural and familial context, I come from a highly traditional family, the kind of family that still does arranged marriages with dowries and looks down on premarital relations. My grandparents were arranged, as were my aunt and mother. Another bit of information, I am the pro-DCT of unconsented sex, you know what I mean. My mum told me not long after I turned 7, since she knew my aunt and cousins could use it against me. And she was right. And me being unfazed and unhurt by my cousins' taunts made them turn most of our community against me. I had people throw things at me. I was a social pariah, just known as the R-word baby, or other nicknames that are too vulgar to type here. People pitied my dad since he was being forced to raise me, which was very untrue. My dad loves me to bits. My maternal grandparents were the cause of a lot of stress. My grandmother heavily favored my aunt and cousins, often brushing my mom and I to the side. We were left out of family holidays and not invited on family trips. When my grandmother passed, my mom and I got a combined few thousand, while my grandfather got most of her estate, and my aunt and cousin received assets worth a solid 100,000 combined. My cousins, in all their bratty glory, bragged and said, "Inheritance is for family only." Though by that point in time I had just learned to ignore them. I got scholarships to pay for college and scraped by doing campus jobs. I graduated a few years ago and was bouncing between jobs when I got a call from my grandfather wanting a meeting. The meeting, held the following week, revealed that my aunt was actually not my grandfather's biological child. Turns out, my grandmother had gotten pregnant from a co-worker not long before her marriage to my grandfather was arranged. This meant that my aunt and cousins would only receive the rest of my mum's estate, assets and properties once he died, not any of his. This got my cousins mad, who defended their mom and said that DNA didn't mean anything. I piped up and reiterated what they had said all those years ago, and that since they didn't share grandfather's blood, they aren't entitled to his inheritance. I think my aunt was just in shock, since she just got up and walked away. My cousins tried to fight my grandfather, but he was ironclad in his decision. When they left, my grandfather gave me and my mom each a check for emotional damages. I bought a huge plot of land with that money, with the plan to build my dream house once I got my full inheritance. 7 months ago, my grandfather passed away, and I got my full inheritance after 4 months. It was a life-changing amount of money. I paid off my minimal debts and car, set aside a sizable amount for investing, and upgraded my inherited properties to rent out. The income I make from renting, along with my investments, have allowed me to go part-time at work, which helped me make more time for my old hobbies. Construction of my house has started recently, and some people that once knew my cousins found out I came into money. They started messaging me, asking how I've been and what I'm up to. It gave me flashbacks, all the bullying and torment, and they had the nerve to be friendly to me. One of our old classmates was blunt and simply asked how I was able to afford doing all this. And I figured since my cousins had to out me as a R-word baby, then I shouldn't hold back in outing them. So I told the classmate the full truth: my aunt was a bastard child, my cousins are illegitimate to my grandfather's family, and that my mum and I were his only true heirs. It didn't even take 48 hours before my phone was being blasted by my cousins, who said I ruined their lives since nobody wants to talk to them now. I simply replied, "Sucks being on the other end of the stick, huh?" before blocking them. I have been in therapy since I got out of college, healing from how I was treated my whole childhood and teenage years. I was satisfied that they now knew just a smidge of my pain, but then my own mom texted me, saying that it was too far to implode their social lives. I figured I was just returning their actions, revenge, and some might say karma. But the fact my own mom, the same one everyone shunned, is saying I went too far is making me second-guess myself. AITAH for ruining my cousins' lives after they bullies me for years. Am I the asshole? For telling my boyfriend's family that I bought our house, not him. This is a throwaway account. This whole thing started last month or so. Me, 27F, and my boyfriend, 26M, who I will call Matt for privacy's sake, have been together for 6 years now. I'm the main breadwinner, and that has always been a struggle in our relationship. I would say he is pretty insecure of earning less than me. About a year ago, I had finally saved up enough to purchase a house in the neighborhood I really like. Up until then, me and Matt had been living in his apartment, which is cramped and not located in a nice area. Matt has never been too bothered about moving. He likes living in his apartment, and he doesn't mind living elsewhere as long as doesn't have to pay more than half. Knowing damn well I could easily purchase the whole house, and it was a bargain for the area, I bit the bullet and bought it from all my own savings. When we moved in, Matt loved the place, and I thought everything was fine. Now this is the reason I am posting on Reddit. 2 days ago, me and Matt were over to his mom's place for dinner. Conversation was going fine until the topic of our house was brought up. Mill mentioned how proud she was of Matt for owning his own house at 26, which I was confused about, but obviously didn't want to start anything at the dinner table. Then Matt's sister chimed in about how much of an achievement it was. Matt looked over at me, not saying anything. I'm not usually a petty or confrontational person, but something about the fact that I was the one who not only bought the house, but also paid majority of the bills, and Matt didn't even drop $1, stuck with me. So I decided to say something. I asked Matt who really bought the house in front of everyone. I know, it was a dick move, but honestly, I was so riled up by that stage. Matt said nothing, and then I announced to everyone that Matt didn't even contribute to buying the house. Immediately after saying that, I packed up my stuff and went home. I have been texting with Matt's sister, I will call Kate, who seems to be on my side. Matt is staying with his mum right now, so I have the house all to myself. He hasn't contacted me yet, and I don't know whether it's worth breaking up over a lie like this. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for refusing to contact my father after he sold my dog? My dog was really important to me. He was my unofficial emotional support animal after my mother died of cancer. Sometimes I would spend ages crying, and he helped me through that trauma. After my mother died, my father changed. He started drinking more beer and gambling. After that, he got laid off due to not showing up to work. After he got fired, he stopped drinking, or so he claimed, and started looking for new jobs. Since he was still a man of his word, I trusted him when he said he got a new, higher-paying one. But one day, when I got home from school, my dog was nowhere to be found. I printed out several missing posters and made some calls to the local shelter, trusting that people would find him soon. My community was quite efficient when it came to finding missing pets, after all. Then, my father went home and told me he ripped out all my posters. Turns out he sold my dog, my emotional support animal, who helped me mourn, who I always relied on. He did not find a job, and all these hours he spent searching for a job was actually him gambling for money. He did end up finding a job, though. I was heartbroken. I was 14 at the time, so I couldn't do anything, but after I got into college, I moved into my own apartment and cut all my ties with him, because who would live with that monster? Recently, he told my aunt that I moved out and wouldn't contact him. He did not provide any additional context about how he sold my dog, so when my aunt messaged me, she called me ungrateful. My aunt was someone I relied on, since she was my mother's sister and understood my grief. So yeah, that stung. A lot. When I told her why I cut off contact, she just dismissed it. She said I needed to deal with it. Why? Why should I deal with it when my dog, who always listened as I weep, who comforted me when I was down, got sold like some plaything that someone got tired of? AITAH here. I don't think I am, but I want to be sure. Bold text means stuff I added after I realized I forgot to type that. Am I the asshole? Going for divorce after my brother went down on my husband. I am 28 F and was married to my husband Ethan, 28 mem, for past 3 years. I have a brother Ryan, 25 and he is gay. Especially the homophobia he faced in our society, I and my family have always stood for him. We are not Americans, and these are fake names. My brother and husband go out often, and I never doubted them. There was huge scandal in area from LGBT party, where some videos went viral of guys making out, sucking, etc. The person who made them has been caught, but videos have spread out everywhere all over the internet. One video included my brother giving BJ to my husband, and both looked drunk. They told me they were going for normal drinks that day. It has been humiliating and everyone knows about it. I have filed for divorce and my husband and brother are saying it was a drunk mistake. My husband even said you don't give BJ, so it was just something he tried with my brother. And it was one-time mistake. My brother has been tagging me as homophobic. But my parents support me and cut him off. Though they are getting support from many neutrals, and I have been labeled homophobic for such a small incident. I don't think I am. Or am I? Or I failed as wife to satisfy my husband. Which is what some people have told me. Oral sex is something I never liked, nor I asked him ever to go down on me either. My brother has broken my trust, and I used to help him hooking up with guys by giving him room in my place, so he could have safe sex. I lost people because I loved my brother and left many people for him. Edit. The sarcastic comments down there. If you think it is fake, go fuck off. Don't bother if you don't have good advice to give. Assholes. Also, their reasoning is that it is cheating if my husband had other women. It isn't cheating in their opinion. Am I the asshole for asking my mom's husband to stop calling me his soul daughter and telling him my dad was meant to be my dad, not him? My dad died when I 16F was 6. 2 years later, my mom met Jeremy and the two of them fell hard and fast for each other. They've become very spiritual together, and they talk about how they were always meant to be together and find each other, how their hearts are one, and they're each other's true love and soulmate. My mom has said Jeremy was always supposed to be her happily ever after. Jeremy feels the same about mom, but he doesn't just see mom that way. He sees me as his soul daughter, and he calls me that frequently. He said he knows it's crazy, but he feels as though he was always meant to be my dad. He talks about how Mother Earth gave him not only a wife, but a child as well, and how he's so glad the universe saw him worthy to be a dad. It has always bothered me. I know they're happy. I know my mom sees my dad as nothing more than a stepping stone to Jeremy, as a way for the two of them to raise a child together. But I have never seen it that way, and I have never been close to Jeremy, which is something that has upset them, especially when I push Jeremy out of parenting stuff. Because I do that all the time. If I'm asked to speak to my parents about something, I always make a point of telling Mom I need to talk to her. And while she and Jeremy try to insist I should talk to them both, I don't allow it. That's when Jeremy and my mom really focus on the meant to be part of everything, and it makes me so uncomfortable. But in the past, when I expressed that they weren't paying enough attention to really hear me, usually they're so caught up in these beliefs. I was 12 when they got married officially, but they called each other husband and wife before then. The wedding was a mess, and I know that's when they started thinking about all of us needing therapy, because they felt their day was ruined by my refusal to participate in the wedding. They had this whole thing planned where they were going to use Earth to express their love for each other and then plant a family garden, where we each plant ourselves into that Earth and express how we were a soul family or whatever they were talking about. I didn't plant a thing and I said nothing. It did hurt my mum, but it hurt Jeremy more, and she told me that. She said he believed so strongly that I was meant to be his daughter, and my outright rejection was difficult when he knew I loved her at least. We officially started therapy a month ago. It was a long time coming, but they wanted to find a spiritual nature-based therapist who understood their beliefs. They and the therapist spent the first session talking about the beliefs they share. Then it moved on to the problems they have with me not embracing Jeremy or the family we have. Our second last session, I got to speak and I said exactly how much I hate Jeremy, calling me his soul daughter and saying we were meant to be father and daughter. I said how much it sucks to realize Mom only sees my dad as a stepping stone to her true love, without any consideration for me, the child she had with my dad. And I hammered home the point that I am Dad's daughter. He was and always will be my dad, not Jeremy. That they can wish it away all they like, but it won't work. And I won't forget Dad or act like he was some discardable part of the story they want to tell. The therapist asked me what it would take for me to accept Jeremy, and I said I won't ever accept him like they want. But if he'd like to be someone I care for someday, then he needs to stop calling me his soul daughter, and he needs to accept I was meant to be Dad's daughter, not his, and stop saying otherwise. The last session we had was them talking about how they felt about what I said. And basically Mum said I was shitting on their beliefs. And Jeremy said he feels so hurt that I won't embrace the soul daughter stuff and look at it as a bad thing. He said he's never had someone twist loving actions to make them negative like I did. Then the therapist asked me if that's what I wanted. I said I wanted them to finally understand how I feel and to listen to what I have been saying for years. I said if that hurts their feelings, then I could live with it. All three told me I had chosen to speak in a very hateful way and I didn't need to disrespect their beliefs like I did.